Good evening or good morning to some of you. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz and I'm joining you from Livestream.travel in Honolulu and eTurbo News. We're today going all the way to London and we're introducing in a minute Snežka Richter from Greenheart Consulting. Before we do, I just wanted to explain everyone this is the continuation of our lounge events in December for World Tourism Network. World Tourism Network started in March with the Rebuilding.travel discussion during the non-existing ITB trade show in Berlin. And we're now in the process of structuring this discussion forum with a little bit more than 1,000 members in 124 countries into an organization or a network we can work with and specifically help the medium and small-sized businesses through this crisis and continue the conversation, of course, also after the crisis and with the help of everyone. WTN is meant to be built up from the bottom up. That means we have chapters, or we're establishing chapters. I think we have about 11 right now. And these chapters are literally supposed to work independently under the leadership of someone in that region. That could be in a country, that could be in a city or in a region. And then we have interest groups. And interest groups are very important. These are international travel professionals that come together and discuss various interests. We have, if you go to the website, community tourism, culture, tourism, economics, education, fashion, and so forth. So everyone who is a member can start an interest group and also can start a chapter. So I hope you joined us already. If you didn't, just go to WTN.travel. You can sign up. We have both free and paid options, and we would love to have you here. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce Snežka Richter. I hope I pronounced this correctly. She's from Greenheart Consulting in the UK, and I give the floor to her, and she will tell us, she brought a panel, I think, and she will tell us what she's doing tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jürgen. Yes, there are three of us here today presenting. We had you, considering that we're very conscious of the time limits as well. So we have decided each to create a small presentation and to try to tell as much as we can about the subject. And of course, I am going to try to share the screen here so you can see my presentation. And I will also introduce my panel before I continue. So let me just try and share. So here we go. Let me see. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we see you fine. And don't worry about the time that much. We're flexible. There's nothing coming after you. So
okay, that's great. So, okay, so I would like to mention that, of course, here, as you can see, we're going to be talking about inclusive sustainability. In practice, supports the UNDP Sustainable Development Goals and is essential to their success. So obviously, we're briefly looking into it today. Now, as Jürgen already introduced me, I'm the founder of Greenheart Consulting, and I'm also a Green Globe accredited auditor. As a board member of Skull International London, I also advise on sustainability and social media issues. So at Greenheart Consulting, we provide advisory as well as training in travel and tourism. The focus is on inclusive sustainability and responsible and regenerative development to small and medium enterprises and destinations. My travel and tourism industry experience extends over 25 years of practice and includes lecturing in travel and tourism as well. So we promote inclusive sustainability by implementing lasting change through all aspects of our activity. and leading by example wherever we can. And as a result of that, our mission statement is very simple: do good by being the change you want to see. To make this happen, 10% of all our profits after tax are earmarked for projects we support. Of course, joining me today are my friends and colleagues, Elisabetta Milanovic Glavica and Jayanti Iyengar, who are both dedicated to sustainable and responsible development. Elisabetta is Managing Director of Central Podravina Tourist Board in Croatia, who is an experienced travel and tourism professional. She will introduce her region briefly and talk about examples of good practice, implementing educational seminars to support and motivate tourism stakeholders in her region during the pandemic, and the implementation of cultural tourism as part of their commitment to sustainable tourism development. Jayanti is a well-being coach from Delhi in India with over 17 years of experience in the travel and tourism industry. She is a sustainable and responsible tourism professional for all these years and well-known environmental activist in her home region as well. She will introduce us to the benefits of implementing emotional well-being in all aspects of life and business. So, anyway, we have a crisis. A pandemic such as COVID-19 is clearly a result of us encroaching on our surrounding environment. Experts such as primatologist Jane Goodall and epidemiologist Tira Smiley Evans are quite frank about this, as you can see. But we also know there are thousands of such viruses that could cause another pandemic in the wild, in nature. And will we actually see another pandemic in the next 10 years? So, in my view, if we return to business as usual, we definitely will. And that's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Of course, there are many other factors that could cause a crisis, either natural, political, economic, or other. But here we show the example of major causes which have supported the creation of this pandemic. So the question is, how can a business or destination become sufficiently resilient to survive such a crisis? And how do we really weather a storm? More so, how do we actually prevent another one? And I would like to start with our business as usual. So, the typical goals of a business or destination or a wish list, so to speak, based on an extraction economy, we have right here. But is this achievable if we continue with business as usual post-pandemic? Not in my opinion. So here are some examples of what type of goals a business or destination should implement instead of this, and how to take steps towards being based on inclusive sustainability, which relies on regenerative qualities. Such change requires quite a serious shift in mindset, determination, persistence. Most of all, it requires commitment. It also means taking action swiftly, because climate crisis urges us that there is no time to dwell on long-winded plans. It also means that every member of your team must be on board and ready, of course. So, sustainability, what is that anyway? Because in my opinion, it's an overused term, yet many only barely know what it really means. Of course, I'm sure that everybody present will have had some interest, so they will know. But the actual original concept of sustainability can be traced back to the German tax accountant Hans von Carlowitz in the 17th century, and it was applied to forestry. So it's not something that started yesterday. And obviously here we have the definition of sustainability. That is a definition that's widely accepted. Currently, there is also much talk about regenerative tourism. So we'll have a look into inclusive sustainability first, as we do have a connection there, of course. So what is inclusive sustainability? As far as I'm concerned, it's a way of life. but it's also a step up from sustainability as we know it so far. And as you can see here, it rests upon 5 areas of conscious action. First of all, environmental responsibility. It serves to combat climate crisis, which directly threatens biodiversity and therefore our own existence on the planet by making conscious decisions and employing responsible use of natural resources. So protecting environmental resources is no longer sufficient. Regenerative development is essential. Then we have integrated community and or society. It serves all members of community, regardless of racial, ethnic, religious group, gender, sexual orientation, ability or disability, age or species. Cultural vitality is the practice of creating, disseminating, validating, and supporting arts and culture as a dimension of everyday community life. It's not just there for tourists. There are 3 domains of cultural vitality, and that is presence of opportunity, participation, and support for cultural participation. Of course, we can't go without economic health. It is essential to a sustainable future for every business or destination. And most importantly, personal well-being. By achieving personal well-being, the individual is more ready to become a consciously proactive member of society, able to implement and promote inclusive sustainability through their own actions. And that leads us to regenerative development. Regenerating is a step up from sustaining and more. It demands a holistic approach. So regenerative development supports the SDGs, which have been adopted by the UN in 2015.
No, if you listen to half these people and how they do their presentation,
So,
you want to
of
laugh.
course, it would have been
They're
good if
really
our
just
government had done more to fulfill their commitments to SDGs. And I'm taking the UK as an example, of course, since I live here. So UK has one of the lowest rates of awareness of SDGs in the world, which I find quite unbelievable, but it's true. A 2019 global poll by Ipsos Mori held in 28 countries found that only 13% of adults in the UK were familiar with the SDGs, compared to an international average of about 26% and a high of 55% in India. Unfortunately, the UK has made little progress on these commitments to the SDGs. Now, of course, some delays are understandable, as we have seen an unexpected general election, a change of government, the UK's exit from the EU, the infamous Brexit, and the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic. But these events are insufficient for a valid excuse. How does it make a difference? So, years ago, we taught our travel and tourism students the importance of minimizing negative impacts. Well, this is no longer enough. It is also no longer possible to stop climate change. We know that for a fact now, but we can slow it down. Now we have to plan and implement regenerative development as part of the sustainability process. And in this process, we must be all-encompassing and inclusive. And this is obviously our connection between the inclusive sustainability underlined by regenerative development. We really could talk about this for weeks, but I'm very conscious, of course, that we can't keep you here forever. So we're just touching upon the subject. And what action can you actually take to implement inclusive sustainability and regenerative development? Well, every business or destination must take action to become accountable, resilient, engaged, and restorative. This is the basis of regenerative development. And of course, here are some examples of action steps you can undertake. Starting from, for example, generating increased prosperity and health of human and natural environments via commitment to water self-sufficiency. What is really, really important is building trust among all stakeholders in a destination or as a business in your local community. So you want to become a champion for implementation of well-being policies where you are, or in the destination that you serve. And of course, well-being, even happiness, are measurable values. So it is important to implement well-being metrics in the business or destination recovery plans. So where did this well-being come in? Of course, Jayanti is going to tell us more about the importance of well-being as well, and some routes, how to apply, etc. But considering my lecturing background, I would, of course, naturally choose to draw a loose parallel with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm sure you have heard of. But there is more, of course. In August 2011, the UN signed a resolution on happiness towards a holistic approach to development. And in April 2012, the high-level meeting on happiness and well-being, defining a new economic paradigm, was held. Most of us have heard by now about Bhutan, famous for their gross national happiness, or GNH. It includes an index which is used to measure the collective happiness and well-being of a population. It has been part of their constitution since 2008. New Zealand is another example who takes it so seriously. Their treasury uses well-being screening tools to allocate departmental budgets. But how does it relate to inclusive sustainability and regenerative development? Well, you can see obviously here from just a basis that I tried to show the correlation between feelings of well-being being absolutely essential. First of all, to the overall health of an individual. Once we have achieved the personal well-being, there is an openness, a greater openness and increased consciousness to lead to act towards actions in regenerative development, which in turn then underlines inclusive sustainability. Well, until we start educating at the most basic level, from kindergarten onwards, throughout the entire education system, and as a former lecturer, I am absolutely championing education, we will not succeed to create a lasting change towards a regenerative mindset, which becomes deeply ingrained in society, where ingenuity or recycling, reusing, reapplying materials and material items becomes fashionable and commonplace. We cannot succeed. But there is hope with young individuals pushing the tide, such as Greta Thunberg. So, considering my background as well as a Green Globe auditor, I would like to highlight as one of possibilities to help in this situation is certification. And the role of certification is provide a benchmark of practice as well as framework for communication. So obviously, as I'm a Green Globe auditor, I use them as an example. But before I say anything more, I just want to say there are so many different types of certification, sustainability certification, etc. It is, of course, important to get the best one. It is important to choose the right one, the one that is going to be sufficiently robust and fastidious, I'd say, in checking and making sure that the destination, the business, the organization are doing the right thing and they are actually carrying on. Anyway, the Green Globe Standard offers companies or organizations a professional industry-tailored framework to comprehensively evaluate achievements in the field of sustainability based on the 4 pillars: sustainable management, social economic, cultural heritage, and environment. The applicable sustainability criteria and indicators vary according to region, business, segment, and locational factors as well. As of course, you can see some of these factors. So, of course, we haven't forgotten COVID. What about COVID? Do we actually need inclusive sustainability and sustainability certification, regenerative development, when the travel and tourism industry ecosystem has been decimated and desperate for recovery? Well, just some benefits of certification here. So some examples of benefits implementing certification. So if we take reduced operational costs, at Green Globe, we did actually measure a 10% saving on energy, for example, by implementing the basis into businesses when getting this certified and working towards certification. For example, decreased employee turnover is something that is of great importance. It saves money, of course, as well. And we have measured a 7% increase in staff satisfaction. And I could go on, of course, again for some time, but let's move on. Because I do have colleagues that are going to want to speak as well, so I can't take all the time in the world. So anyway, without a conscious commitment to change, with a complete shift in mindset, we cannot succeed. There have been calls to save tourism for at least a decade now. From where I stand, very little has changed during that time. Now we're learning the hard way. So we do have the tools to implement change, of course, but we haven't done enough about it, and the time to act is now. Thank you very much indeed, and I would like to pass on the word to Elisabetta. Elisabetta, you're still on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't noticed this before. Let me start. Hello, everyone. I'm Elisabetta, as a representative of the Central Podravina Tourist Board in Croatia. I'm very grateful to Jorgen and Sneška to give me the opportunity and to share my experience of and introduce my small, as I can say, small piece of paradise of ours, these Podravina areas. Our vision is to become a sustainable and responsible destination, but till we achieve this point, we need to take a few steps before. Podravina literally means a region near Drava River. And this amazing river, many called the Amazon of Europe, the wildest part of the river Drava is going through my region, through Podravina areas. And this area is still pure, as I can say, virgin destination. 3 years from now, back in 2017, we started to build our story based on the long tradition of culture, customs, and all the workshops, tales from the long time ago, and intangible heritage. One of the wide known intangible heritage of Podravina is naive art. There was a group called Zemlja, the Earth, formed in the Deep Depression and political crisis in 1929. And it was a time of extensive culturalization of villages sprouting from desire for equality of all social classes, especially peasants. An academic artist, Krsto Hegedušić, in 1930 founded the Hlebine Art School, a naive art movement that involved young peasants, painters. One of them, Ivan Generalić, reached world fame, and then Ivan Večenaj, Ivan Rabuzin, Ivan Lacković-Kroata, Josip Generalić, Mio Kovačić, and others following his steps. Today, many of the third and fourth generation of the naive artists are still alive, and you can find them in their private galleries and ateliers. The interest on naive art started to fade, so our job is to find a new way of introducing this amazing art to new generations and new people to find, and we need to find creative ways of doing that. One of them is to using storytelling and interpretation as a technique to give the visitors first-hand experience. to give natural and cultural heritage deeper meaning. Through sharing the knowledge and organizing the workshops, telling stories and organizing events, we're taking small steps to achieve our goal to become sustainable, desirable, and safe destination. You can see some legends of Podravina through the lens of the camera of talented photographer Iva Lulic from Zagreb. She wanted to capture magical atmosphere of Podravina and to make all our legends alive, which we have many of them. Here you can see just a few of many protected intangible heritage, like playing cymbals, making cake mazanica, or making licitar. Licitar is a colorfully decorated biscuit made of sweet honey, often used as an ornamental gift or souvenir from Croatia. And about symbols, you can see here on the photo a lady who is playing cymbals, and she starts to teach. She started to be a student when she aged 63 years old. So you are never too old to chase your dreams. Croatia is really full of tradition, especially in Podravina area, and this is all really amazing to see, but many locals have no idea about the value and the importance of their local culture. So that's the reason why we organized many workshops, trying to educate much people as we can. So we started from the basics, from the early age with ABCs of tourism, and then we laid spread on the youth and till the old ones. And in many creative ways, we were literally stopped during this pandemic. And we are aware that there is going to be changes in the next period, and we have to develop the ability to adapt and learn quickly as things have really changed so fast. So we want to adapt through the education, but also we are trying to find ways how to start some safe events. So we started one event called Walks Through Naive Art in Hlebine, where people could walk around the whole village and meet villagers and local artists in outdoors. We also create some virtual events like online cookie festival called Brkačiada, just to keep people connected and create some good content until we see each other again. And we are extremely proud on the fact that we have brave people in our community who challenge and overcome fear. So this one here, you can see one open his accommodation while many businesses in tourism are closing. So they registered accommodation for now for 16 people. We also have, you can see at the bottom, one family who started live shows just to keep people connected and share their good spirit even in the middle of their times of struggle. For the future, we want to establish ecotourism, sustainable tourism based on the creativity, art, and nature. We are searching the ways of networking and joint branding, thinking of the great meaningful events. We want to achieve customer service excellences, and we would like to prepare all our partners for the certification in sustainable tourism in these following years. We are really positive and optimistic, and because we are, just new destination, you can feel safe here in Podravina. You can join our artists, enjoy in beautiful natural environment. Thank you once again for having me here. And if you want to stay in touch, here is my contact. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elisabetta. And of course, I must say I'm extremely proud of the fact that a local destination that is actually attached to my hometown is working so hard to build a sustainable destination. And of course, just like you mentioned, Elisabetta, Central Podravina is practically a virgin destination, almost unknown, and it's something that you can really reap benefits from. Anyway, I would like to next give word to Jayanti.
Thank you very much. My name is Jayanti, and I should thank Mr. Jorgen Steinmetz and Snezhka Richter to give me an opportunity to speak on what I perceive as one of the most important aspects of particularly keeping in mind the global pandemic, that is well-being. I'm not going to share the screens, so Snezhka, if you could do for me, or I would be grateful to you.
Okay, just 1 second. I am just going to open up your presentation. Hang on.
Thank you so much. So to give you a brief, I have been working in the tourism industry for the last 17 years. I don't know if Ms. Steinmetz remembers me or no, but we have been in some common platforms together. I have been very focused on responsible and sustainable tourism. I had formed a consortium of responsible sustainable initiatives from India and from the Indian subcontinent. I had presented them in various platforms outside India, in many international travel events and exhibitions, particularly ITB, WTM, etc. I got many tour operators from international fraternity to get interested in some of these initiatives. And I spent a lot of time talking to our local governments to actually give a fillip, to give more encouragement to such initiatives, so that every person in the fraternity gets some kind of income generation from these initiatives. Today, we are facing a period of crisis. We have been through, we have clearly seen that whatever has been happening till now, particularly in terms of destroying nature, its elements, pushing ideological differences to achieve limited gains, religious conflicts, war, terrorism, extinction of mass species, mass migration, and now a global pandemic. So the whole world needs a healing, and this healing extends to the humanity as well, because we need to now have a new dimension of thinking. We need to think away from hatred, bigotry, prejudice, etc. And I think the industry now is the right time to come closer to each other, so that the entire industry fraternity works as one, so that we are able to push more sustainable forces together and with a strong commitment to environmental sustenance. If you see the kind of awakening that's happening now, majority of the people now are more inclined towards green initiatives. There is a strong sense of responsibility coming over for the green to keep environmental sustenance, and coupled with the fact that we need to ensure that every stakeholder gets maximum benefit. So this awakening has already started, and now is the right time to take this to the next level. New leadership within the fraternity should look at more community inclusiveness and sustainability. I'm not going into details because Snezhka has already very well explained all these things, keeping in mind the UNWTO SDG roles as well, SDG goals, I'm sorry. We need to think out of the box. So I have put some well-being goals out here, and the bottom line for these goals is empathy, compassion, and love. So we need to focus on global wellness. We need to focus on communities. We need to look at the macro picture for the society, for the country, for the planet. We need to look at using maximum diversity in terms of talent, backgrounds, visions, And rather than going back and forth and, creating more ideological differences between each other, we need to look at a comprehensive view so that we all collectively come together for the sake of our own self, that is the individual, then the society, organization, the country. So we need to create a new world view on gender equality, social justice, equal opportunities for all. We need to create new inclusive economies and not specifically cronyism and power mongering. And we need to have some individual goals as well. The first thing when we speak about individual goals is, in this area of pandemic, we always think that why me? What have I done? Why should I go through all this? But we need to look at some kind of acceptance, go for spiritual counseling. This is where people like us come into a picture, where we are trying to help as many people as possible so that they feel more grateful, they feel more confident with their own talents and skills, so that they feel the right kind of perspective to operate now, keeping in mind this kind of pandemic that we are facing. Many people have lost jobs, many people have lost even their own family members. So this is the time we need to reach out, extend, and give the maximum that we can as a helping hand. And I'm grateful to Mr. Steinmetz to create such kind of platforms where people can come together, brainstorm, discuss, and come out with solutions. So some of the perspectives I've listed out here, I've already mentioned about the society, the community, the country. So we need to all bring all these aspects together so that we, as one single identity, are able to leverage out of this and give the best out from within ourselves and from the society and from the country. So these are some of the areas where, as an individual, we can work on our own emotive wellness. We can connect within, and showing us deep sense of external empathy, we can achieve a lot of goals. The first and foremost thing which I think for an individual is enough sleep. So if you're not able to get enough sleep, you seriously need to work on that, because if you are well refreshed, you will be able to give as a leader a better sense of perspective to many people. Then, of course, is nutrition, biological grounding, wellness, limbical movements, yoga, pranayama. All this is well known. I don't need to elaborate. A feel-good factor that comes from deep sense of commitment and contentment, a deep sense of gratitude. Mind management, where we are able to get rid of negative, toxic energy of bigotry, separateness, hatred, and some kind of small-mindedness, where we look at the larger picture and connect spiritually to a higher entity, so that whatever action we perform, that action is more comprehensive. So these are some of the points that I have mentioned. In the last 13 years, I have researched a lot on psychology, spirituality, alongside working in the tourism industry. And now I run specialized courses. I do mind energy healing. I do mind therapies. On Sundays, I run programs which are specifically meant for internal awareness, so that when you're connected internally to your awareness, you can automatically perform larger actions. Thank you very much. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp or any other social media tool. And if you have any questions, I would be really happy to answer. Namaste.
And we'd be happy to add your information. And I do remember you. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Mr. Steinmetz.
Yeah,
we have been on the UNWTO associated conferences.
Yes. I do remember that very clearly. Yeah, and just join us, and then you get a profile. We put your information up, and maybe you can join one or even lead one of our committees.
Sure.
For anyone together with SNETJA, and I think there's good opportunity. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jayanti. That was really great as well. And I have to thank you both, Elisabetta and Jayanti, for supporting the panel, the session with great insight as well. But particularly thank you, Jürgen, for actually creating this platform for us to be able to share our experiences and our thoughts. The World Tourism Network is definitely a great opportunity, and I do hope it grows maximum to the maximum, as we do need as many stakeholders as possible from the tourism industry to join and take part, basically. But anyway, I wanted to just conclude with a few words, and then, of course, if there are any questions, we will be open for them too. So I wanted to mention something from my past. When I was a lecturer in travel and tourism, discussing the purpose of being a responsible tourist, one of my students asked me, "But why should we not have fresh towels every day if we paid for it?" I don't think I need to add much more than that. Educating your clients is key. Educating your staff, your local community is key. Of course, we must be supported by policy change. If you have to educate your policymakers, your local governments, ultimately it is education that is the greatest tool that we have to influence change, which will support regenerative development and help us not only to build resilience and overcome crises such as this pandemic, but provide us with the tools to enrich the destinations we serve and aid the local communities to flourish, all with a mission to support the survival of our ecosystem called Earth. Thank you very much indeed. And over to you, Jürgen.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a very interesting session and so important. And it kind of adds a little bit to what we have been discussing on a number of platforms. So it's definitely a good discussion. We could expand to an even larger audience. Yesterday, I remember Jeffrey Lippman, I'm sure you know, had a good session.
Yes.
Even and then we had a session on happiness with the gentleman, I can't recall his name now, from Australia. All in community tourism and all these things kind of fall together. So hopefully all of you will join us, and so we can continue this and do make an impact. That's all we want. So, but anyways, there are. Oh, okay. There is questions. I think there is. I cannot read this. Nisana is asking, is raising a hand.
Yes, thank you very much, Jürgen.
Oh, it's you. It's Mrs. I didn't read your name. Let me introduce her before you go on. She actually runs our educational interest group, and she's in Serbia. We call her Snow White, and I couldn't read this here because my lamp was shining so bright on my screen, so I couldn't really. But I know, of course, who you are. Thanks for joining us again. I mean, it's like Stephen. You know, I have to mention Stephen. I didn't mention him yet, and also Arwin. They have been on so many of our sessions here. Thank you so much. But go ahead.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, all panelists. Snezhka, you remember that we met many years ago.
Yes, we have. I remember very fondly. And there you go. We've got two Snow Whites in one.
That's right, because Snezhka is a nickname of Snežana, Snow White, or Snevidchen for Jürgen.
Yeah. You gave it all away now, Snežana.
That's true. That's true. This is excellent panel, and this is what we are talking about when we started this group education and training. And I hope, Jürgen, that we can squeeze one new panel until the end of this year about the importance of the education and training in tourism.
Yes, absolutely. We should do that.
We can do that. Lovely. Snezhka, you will be a part of it. Are you agree?
Absolutely, I would love to, with absolute pleasure. You know that I used to be a lecturer in travel and tourism, so so I am, as you can tell from my presentation, I am, and even concluding words, education is such a key, massive key. So absolutely, I'd be delighted. Thank you.
It is really excellent what we heard today, and I think uh, uh, that will do it on our panel to see from the different aspects and the different views about the training in tourism. And as you said, and your colleagues from Croatia and from India, you said that education is the most important in these days. And I agree, because COVID-19 put our lives upside down, and we have to see what is the most important now, to put tourism back on new tracks, not on the old tracks, but the new tracks. And because of that, I thank you very much. And Jürgen, thank you very much that we can squeeze our panel, so we will discuss about it.
Yeah,
Thank
what
you
I
very
will
much.
do, I will send you a link, and you can just schedule it at your convenience. It has all the open spots on it, and we do have a good number of open spots we can find. Don't worry about
Lovely,
it. That's
lovely.
great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's from me. That's all from me for now.
Okay.
Lovely to see you and speak to you, Snezhana. Well, in that case, we'll be in touch.
Yes.
I, I don't know if there's any more question. Feel free to raise your hand. Stephen must be asleep by now. It must be 3:37 in the morning in New York.
Wow, that's
No, I
dedication,
am not
if
asleep.
anything.
I'm very much awake.
Oh, blimey, this is a typical British response. Not
Yes,
that
I
I'm
am
British,
from
but I'm
Kent,
so
actually.
undersized. Blimey, wow.
This has been brilliant. I'm really in awe, actually, to have been here, and it's been an honor, and to listen to all of the presentations. This has been fantastic. Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks for
A
being here.
pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And now, Arvin, Arvin is joining us from Borneo. Is that correct?
Wow, one of my all-time favorite destinations.
Hi, hi.
Hello, my great love to Borneo.
When can I expect to see you here?
Oh, I honestly, I couldn't wait for another opportunity.
Okay, great, great. I love to be one of Cinderella's dwarfs. I think she's fantastic. I think we all should be one of the dwarfs for her, because she's a real catalyst. She's a primary mover for what she's doing. Hats off to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Indeed.
Thank you, guys. This was excellent, and I really appreciate you doing this. And I just wanted to remind everybody, this is live streaming. Of course, many of you see us on eTurbo News. We're going to repeat this a number of times for the next 2-3 weeks, but you also find it on archive, probably in the next 24 hours. Just go to worldexpo.travel and you can find this and all our other sessions we had so far on archive. And again, if you haven't joined World Tourism Network, please do go to wtn.travel. And of course, don't forget reading eTurbo News. We're here 24/7 and trying to cover the world. What is a challenge these days? There's so much to cover and so much you really don't want to cover. But let's go back to the good parts. I wanted to mention one more good thing at the end of the year. At the end of our launch month, we're going to have the second session with Louis D'Amour and Peace to Tourism. The first session, it went more than 3 hours and people loved it. We had an introduction of what Louis did in this 35 years since he started the organization. And now we're going to look forward what is planned for IIPT in the future. We're also having our New Year session, and we're trying to say goodbye to COVID, because if we compare it with the Spanish flu, it just finished exactly 100 years ago at the end of the year. So we're hoping we can put a lot of COVID to rest. We probably can't put it all to rest, but hopefully start the New Year's with a little bit on a positive note. And we'll be joined by tour guides from all over the world. Maricia, who's one of the U.S. ambassador for the International Tour Guide Association, and also the president of the association from South Africa, will be joining us together with people who work in the field and who are essential for our business. So good night from Hawaii. Good morning to you guys in Europe, I guess, and good afternoon to Borneo. We'll be back tomorrow morning, our time. We have 2 sessions coming up. You probably like the session Mona is preparing for Jordan, and she's saying Jordan is the most healthiest place on earth. So just go to WTN.travel, click on the upcoming event, and you can register to actually attend it live, and then you can also ask questions. Good night, guys, and thank you again. Aloha from here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity here again.
No, it's my pleasure.
Definitely looking
Thank
forward
you.
to, especially to the new year. I was a tour guide before as well, so that will be more fun too. But a goodbye to COVID would be fabulous for New Year. Thank you.
Let's see how we can
Take care.
count on this. Take care, guys.